Leaders and healers, gamers and claimers, ladies and gentlemen from around the universe, from around the globe, from around the community, welcome to the Power, Purpose, and Passion podcast. I am your host, Anthony Cheam, speaker, life coach, author, trainer, musician, singer, songwriter, friend, podcast host, ready to give to you everything, the best of what I've learned and earned, and ready to return it to your life and care for you and compassion for you and love for you and respect for you. Because if the best is available and the better is available, why not take the better, best road so you can better your life? Because that's what this show is about. So you can upgrade your life, update your life, enhance your life, advance your life so you can ultimately live a happier, more fulfilling life. And then ultimately, you can take what you've learned and earned and then return it in care and giving to the people around you, the community, because that's what life's all about, to contribute beyond yourself, to grow, to contribute, to enjoy, to live with power, purpose, and passion, to claim your power, to clarify your purpose, cultivate your deepest, widest, and highest passions possible. So you can do all these things, experience all these things, learn as much as you can, because that's what this show is about. And we're going to help you make a very subtle upgrade today. And today's show is entitled, Are You a Blamer or Are You a Claimer? And before I do that, I want to introduce my podcast power partner in crime and in rhyme, Mr. Cameron Dubé. What's up, C-Dubs? What's going on Facebook, Instagram? What's going on?
Feeling good.
Yeah, good.
Excited about everything. For the most part.
Excellent.
Nobody's perfect. But yeah, doing good. One quick question.
Sure.
Has nothing to do with the topic today.
Yeah.
How are you dealing with all the stress in your life? Like, I know you just sold your house and all this stuff is happening. Like, how do you do it, man?
Dude, because I'm a claimer and not a blamer. No, in reality, this past year has been crazy, obviously, with my mother passing away just a little bit over a year ago and going through the craziness of being power of attorney and getting all of her estate in order and doing all this crazy stuff, and then having to deal with that, the emotional side of it, the physical aspect. I look back on that year, man, did I grow like crazy. And then after having finished the actual estate, pretty much finishing the whole entire thing, all the hard stuff is done. The hard work is done. We spontaneously decided to buy a house in our same area, just a little bit bigger, and just up a couple of streets up. And then we bought it, and then we have to sell our house. So it took us a week and a half to sell our house and get it ready for sale, for staging and all that stuff. And then it sold in four or 5 days, which is what we wanted. And we got everything in order, when tough times come and you remain faith-filled and faithful, and you keep on emptying yourself and trusting it with courage and love, and are driven and focused to spread as much love as humanly possible, even though it's tough. I think eventually things start to tip in your favor. God, the universe start to open doors, and this is a form of God, the universe opening the door for us. And this is my wife's dream house, and I want to make my wife's dreams come true, because happy wife, happy life, sad life, stab yourself with a knife, right? So I want to make my wife's dreams come true. And I don't really see it as stress so much as I see it as growth opportunities, as character building opportunities. And I think that's one of the things, the main principles of this particular podcast episode is about being a claimer, not a blamer. I learned this from one of my close friends, Miranda, who is a very close friend of mine, who's a psychotherapist and a life coach, and she's a wonderful human being, and I have a deep respect for her. She's helped me through some of my tough times as well. And she talked about that. Are you a blamer? Are you a claimer? And I know I say that at the introduction of this podcast about, are you a gamer or a claimer? I've actually had people come or write me and say, what does that even mean, a gamer or a claimer? Did you play the game of life? Is what that means. Are you a gamer? Are you playing the game of life? Because life is like a game, and you're the hero in your own story. And are you a claimer? Are you claiming everything that's happening in your life? So to answer your question, I'm doing great. I'm handling the stress of life great. And that doesn't mean I don't have tough times, or I get tired or exhausted or down on myself. But man, do I have a great journey ahead of me. And like Wayne Dyer says, if you've got great dharma, you're going to have great challenges. And that's just the deal. If you come to this life with great intention, great desire, great objectives, and great goals for yourself, then you're going to come across great challenges, great problems. But invariably, that's just how it is. And I've accepted that as part of my journey. And so whatever comes in my life, I'm not surprised whether it's good or bad. Jim Rohn had a great quote that said, whatever shows up in your life, offer no complaint and no apology. If failure comes and all this crap comes, don't offer no complaint. But if success comes and it's chasing you and you're successful on many different levels, you offer no apology either. There's no need to apologize for that. So I guess I'm trying to do my best to live that philosophy every day of my life. And hopefully I am doing that with my relationships, with my spiritual life and my career and many different areas. So what about yourself, Cam? But before we get started on this podcast, I know you shared some great news. I'm not sure if you want to share it on this podcast, but hey, things are happening good in your life. And would you like to share that, or does it really matter? Okay.
Things definitely come together. I was just telling you that I've been journaling a lot more often. I did a journal last year and it was so negative. It was just me ranting about all the terrible things in my life.
Doing some shadow work, man.
Yeah, it was great, but it dug me even deeper. Like, I don't know where the balance is. Maybe it's different for some people, but for me, complaining about my problems in a book made my problems worse.
So you were a blamer.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
I was a blamer. And so I just started another one a couple weeks ago, and I set the intention at the beginning of the journal. I said, this journal is for good. This is for positive reinforcement. If I have nothing nice to write nothing at all. That is what's going on here. And I just realized that the whole self-help thing, a lot of people just search for answers when they're desperate.
Yes.
And sometimes you don't need to, if you're in a hard place, sometimes you don't even need to learn anything as much as you just need to pick up a journal and just write about what you want rather than what you don't want.
Yeah.
And sure, that can maybe mix into the law of attraction and a bunch of other things, but really it just primes your mind for focusing on the positive and focusing on what's possible. Right. So I think lately that's been the big thing for me is when it comes to claiming, I just think that I'm claiming responsibility of my focus.
Yes.
And if I'm focusing on the bad aspects of life, negative aspects of life, then that's my fault, and I'm gonna feel
that's on you.
That's on me.
You.
And it's
on you.
And it's just as long as you try, as long as you're willing to let go of the complaining, of the blaming. It's a hard thing to let go of because it's a part of you.
Yes.
You literally have to shed a part of who you are, and then you become less of a person. You become lighter, and for a lot of people that's scary. But it has absolutely transformed my life in the last week and a half, 2 weeks. Just writing it down. And last night especially, you get in these thoughts where you're just worried and you're doubtful or you're fearful or you're stressed or you're overwhelmed. For me, I just decided to write exactly what I want, no shame. Like I realized that there's actual shame within me that keeps me from writing what I want in a journal, that I'm the only person who's going to read it. I don't even want to admit to myself what I truly want, because it's wrong or it's excessive or it's, you know what I mean? But when you just let yourself be honest with yourself about what you want, and who cares if it's possible? Who cares if it's in the realm of possibility for you or whatever? Who cares how much you believe in it? Just writing it down is a refreshing thing.
It crystallizes a lot of things, and plus the act of writing. I know I've said this before, but the act of writing things down, your problems down, or actually asking the question of what am I really worried about, or what's my fear that I'm worried. That actual act of doing that detaches your brain from the actual problem itself, which then leaves it open to actually write solutions down. So then you write your problem down, whatever's worrying you, and then you go on a tangent about possible solutions. And then rather than it continuously circulating in your brain and creating new neural pathways for you to continue to reinforce this worry or fear that you're focusing on, whatever it might be. But the idea of going from a blamer to a claimer, that's not easy, because if you're conditioned to blame your life on your friend or your best friend or your mother or your father or your sister or circumstance, and God knows those might be absolute facts that those people were horrible human beings in your life. And I've often say to people, the reason why you are the way you are might have been your upbringing, your parents, your brother or sister, or you were abused sexually or physically, whatever it might be. I was sexually abused. I was abused physically, emotionally, on many different scales. So I get it. I'm not placing the blame, but that should not be the reason why you stay there, why you stay that way. And so I often say to people, sort of paradoxically, that if you want to change, the good news, or transform or upgrade, I don't like to use the word change so much as transform or upgrade. If you want to transform, if you want to upgrade your life, it's up to you. The good news, it's up to you. The bad news, it's up to you. That's both the good news and the bad news, right? And so when people hear that, like they kind of they have a smile on their face going, oh, okay, I know, I get what he means by that, because bad news is because I've created all this. This is my reality. It sucks. And when you place that, when you finally take full responsibility and claim your life as it is, and say, at some level, I made an appointment to be here, and that's hard to swallow, because you're like, yeah, but my mom or my dad or my wife or my kids, or I lost my job, or I got in that car accident. How's that that's not my fault? You're right, it's not your fault. But where you are right now, how you respond to life, that is your responsibility. That is your choice. Are you responding to life, or are you reacting to it? And the claimers of life, what they do is they claim, they own it. And they say, this happened in my life for a reason, for whatever reason it happened, and I'm going to shift my intentions, shift my attention, intentions, and attentions towards what I can do and how I can respond to it and give it a better meaning so it empowers me, not disempowers me. And so one of the things I say to people is this: it's not the facts of life that keeps you from moving forward and upward in your life. It is the story behind the facts that you keep on telling yourself, like injecting yourself with some heroin. The story is your heroin about why your life isn't working. And you continuously tell the story like, oh yeah, well, my boss was abusive and I've never been able to recover. Oh, I lost this, or I lost that, or this person said this to me, or my father never loved me, or never gave me the love I needed. And you continue that same old story. And it might be a total fact. I'm not denying that. But it's the story you keep on telling yourself that keeps you from moving forward. That might be the reason why, let me repeat myself, that might be the reason why you are the way you are today, but it should not and cannot be the reason why you stay that way. I was beat down many times, emotionally, physically, sexually, many times when I was younger. And I could have continued to stay in that storyline, like, well, this person said this to me, and I was made fun of. I was beat up physically, emotionally. People made fun of my legs. People made fun of me that I was stupid. People did this to me and abused me physically and all. I could have stayed there. And if there's someone, if a child went through what I went through or worse, I'd feel nothing but compassion and sympathy and empathy for that person, no question. But then I would switch the turn and say, you have the power to claim your power to change and shift and upgrade your life and transform your life. Because I'm a living proof of that, living embodiment of it. Now there are many people out there that have basically traversed and have gone through far worse than things that I have. My dad being one of them. That the Cambodian version of the Holocaust, that two of his brothers were executed, and the stories he would tell me, and the books I've read about, the Rwandan genocide, Man's Search for Meaning. You read these books about these people in the worst possible circumstances, and they come out with nothing but love and compassion. And you go, how did they do that? If they went through that, how on earth can I sit here and complain about living in Canada, with the abundance that we have, and continue to blame my circumstances or blame this person for hurting me? And one thing I realized, studying psychology and becoming a life coach, one of the things I really and deeply started to recognize is that anytime someone triggers me go into anger or frustration, it's not so much them triggering me, it's something that's being triggered inside of me that I'm denying. If that person's anger triggers my own anger, it's not because they're angry, it's because I'm projecting my own anger onto them, and they become a hook for my projection, and it just doubles the anger that I'm denying. So am I blaming the anger on the other person, or am I claiming my own anger going, wait a second, it's not the other person's anger that's getting me angry. Where is the anger that I'm denying myself, that I am not claiming and I'm not dealing with from a mature level? And that's real emotional maturity, being able to separate yourself from someone who's really annoying you or really irritating you. There's probably some shadow elements underneath that. I know we've talked about shadow on the show before, but there's probably some deep personal unconscious things that you're denying. Could be some personal unconscious wound or childhood wound or whatever. You might be looking at a person through the archetype of your angry child or your saboteur or your prostitute archetype. And I mean, we haven't talked about archetypes before on this podcast, but we all have archetypes of certain things, archetypes of warriors and lovers and gods and goddesses. I won't get into that right now, but the point of the matter is that if someone triggers you to go into your own anger or your own frustration, one of the things you will realize is not the other person that's triggering you. And you can blame them. That person's so angry. That person's so jealous. What does their jealousy have to do with you? So shift the mirror from looking at them to now turning the mirror inward towards you and going, where am I jealous in my own life? Where's the jealousy in me? Where's the anger in me? Where's the frustration in me? Where is the denied substance that's really triggering me? They might have become a hook for my projection, but nonetheless, it's my own anger. So when I started to really realize this, it's not someone else or a circumstance. It's something that I'm denying inside myself. So if someone is annoying you, it's because you're denying those same feelings inside yourself. If you're attracted to somebody, if you're attracted to a certain quality of in someone else, like compassion or love or kindness, it's because you yearn for those qualities and are attracted to those qualities. Otherwise, you wouldn't really care about them. There's a magnetism behind that. So it's a double-edged sword. Number one, it's if you're triggered by someone, own it. It's yours. Like oftentimes in coaching sessions, someone will say, I was angry the other day and, but that wasn't really me. No, bullshit. That was you. That was a part of you that you're not claiming, that you're blaming or denying. That's you. Own it. Let's dive into the anger. Let's dive into that stuff and see what's there so we can actually understand it more. Let's shed some light in the dark areas of your personal unconscious, and let's see what's there. And maybe we won't be able to get answers, the root of the answers, but at least you'll be traveling into your dark spots, into your unconscious wounds or psychological blind spots, and we'll be able to uncover them, reveal them, open the doors to them, and you won't. And the great news about that is that you'll be so much less stressed. The bad news, it's the hardest work that you'll ever do. That's why self-work is the hardest work that you will ever engage in. And that's why one of my original mentors used to say, Anthony, work harder on yourself than you do anything in your life, including your relationship with your wife. Work harder on that, because the more you work on yourself, it's going to better your relationship with your wife. And so that's what I've done for the past 15 years, is really work and deeply on my own stuff, my own crap, my own darkness, but also work on my light too, because it's not a lot of fun, as you said, Cam, to work just on your dark areas too and write a journal about all your dark areas. There is shadow, dark shadow, and there's golden shadow. So it's good to integrate both of them. But the point of the matter, the blamers and claimers, choose today that you're going to claim your life and claim your power. That whatever shows up in life, you're going to claim it. You're going to respond to life accordingly and say, you know what, this sucks. I wouldn't have designed it this way, but it happened. There's no use crying over spilt milk, so I'm going to respond to it accordingly, powerfully, purposefully, passionately, and I'm going to raise up, and it's going to better my life as a result. Yeah, what do you think, Cam?
Great. Honestly, I don't think we've ever touched on that subject yet.
Of what?
Of what was it that you said that was really, really good? Something about oh, so good. I can't put it into words like you can. But yeah, when you see in somebody that when you get triggered by somebody, like little things they do or little emotions they have or little personality traits that you don't like, it's really just a part of you that you're denying. And that makes a lot of sense, man. It really does. Because like as an example, I'll be absolutely transparent here. When I first became a vegan, still am now, but I'm a lot more happy within myself, and I'm not attached to anything anymore. It's just my choice, my life choice. But back then, it was almost as if I was resentful towards people who were not, you know? And, I realized why. It's because I was denying the part of myself that did not want to be vegan. I was denying that part. Part that... And so I make everybody else out to be an animal abuser, blah, blah, like all that BS.
And you're projecting your own stuff onto them, which you are then denying. Perfect. That is pure projection. You're absolutely right, man. That's exactly what I was getting at, and that's great that you, and Cameron, by the way, that just acknowledging that you actually had that trait. You own it, number one, but you make subject object. You observe it. You objectify it. Therefore, you're growing and transcending beyond it, but all at the same time, including that as a necessary step for spiritual growth, emotional growth, cognitive growth.
Huge,
right?
Huge. That's why I journal.
Massive.
Because you become aware of these things. It's why I talk to myself. It's why I will just, at the end of the night, put on music, sit and think. And just like, how was my day? Just like reflect. And it's those things. It's the lack of distractions. It's the being willing to reach those parts of your mind. Because I reached a point where I realized that I really was picking and choosing what I wanted to learn. And you can't do that. Life will give you lessons. You can't decide what kind of lessons you want to learn. It's not up to us. It's up to us whether or not we want to learn, whether or not we want to open that door and walk through. But doors will be slammed in our face otherwise. So, like that just gave me a lot of clarity. It was really good.
Awesome. I'm so glad. And that's exactly why I do the show, because I want to help people be enveloped by clarity, and to open up their minds, their hearts, their souls to various ideas. I'm not saying you have to believe me. There are people I have people who respectfully disagree with some of the stuff I say. And I'm glad it opens up the debate. That's okay. Not everyone's supposed to agree with that. I'm totally fine with that. And and to finish off the idea of becoming a claimer, not a blamer, here's something to think about. How do you do this? I remember one spiritual teacher talked about walk around 24 hours and imagine that everyone is a mirror. Everyone, 7.5 billion people, and everyone you meet is just a mirror image of you. So if you see anger in the mirror, it's because you are reflecting anger. And if you get angry, it's not because it's them, it's because it's you that's reflecting you. And it's a hard practice, because the real evolved spiritual human being will actually see everyone as a mirror, that it reflects, but it does not grasp, and it receives, but it does not keep. But it sees everything as a mirror. And if you walk around saying, if you see jealousy in someone, it's because you have jealousy inside yourself. If you see war and famine and fear everywhere, it's because you have fear and famine and war inside yourself that you haven't resolved inside yourself yet. That's hard. That's really hard to do, because it's so much easier to blame our life on our circumstance, or circumstances, plural, than it is to be a victim of our own choices. Because then victim of our choices turns the mirror towards you and goes, where have you screwed up? And puts a magnifying glass on where all the areas that you've made mistakes. And that's hard to swallow. So many people, the real divine person asks themselves to change, where the lower evolved person asks the world to change and conform to their beliefs and values. And I'm not so much in the change. I'm not so much anymore, and I think I've evolved too, as a coach, as a speaker, as an author, as a spiritual human being, that I'm not in the business of changing anybody. I'm just in the business of helping people to look at things differently, perceive things differently, to help people develop a sense of compassion for themselves and other people, and be greater instruments of love in whatever endeavor or delivery system they decide to deliver that love and compassion. That's what I feel like I do. And I'm not here to change anyone. You want me to help change you, and that's great and everything, but I'm here to envelop you and enrapture you with so much caring coming from my heart and soul. You feel it, that I'm giving of myself to you, triggers something inside you perhaps maybe that goes, wow, this person really cares for me. Man, it's inspiring me to do the same thing in my own work. And that's all I do. And I think I don't even consider myself a great life coach. What I do consider, though, and I'm very proud of, is that I have a deep hunger and love for people. When I work with people, and I think I've proven that with you, Cameron, I don't really need to say that, but with many of my clients would attest to that, and my wife would attest to that, my kids would attest to that. I'm very proud of the amount of work I've done there in becoming a greater instrument of love and caring and compassion for people. And that all comes down to me finally turning the mirror towards me, not blaming someone else, not blaming a circumstance, not blaming my past or a relationship or a person in my life, but turning the mirror inwards and saying, where did I screw up? What lesson do I need to learn? Or what lesson is the universe trying to tell me that I need to learn at this particular moment in time? And then going on the journey towards inward, the door opens inward towards salvation, if you want to call it, or freedom and liberation. That's why I meditate, because I promote that as one of the ways that, Cameron plays music, and that's his form of active meditation. I exercise, that's my form of active meditation. You don't necessarily have to meditate, exactly sitting in the lotus position for an hour, but you do have to start looking at your life and going, where do I need to work on this? Maybe this person's brought into my life as a teacher and trying to teach me something, and I need to learn patience. Because how do you learn patience? Is by putting yourself in an impatient situation. How do you learn flexibility? By putting yourself in an area or situation where it doesn't call forth to be flexible, but it calls forth to be rigid and defensive. That's the perfect time to actually deploy flexibility in a hurricane where it's like, oh my gosh, I should be rigid, but the spiritual person, highly evolved person says, no, I'm going to be flexible here. I'm going to be more inclusive. I'm going to accept things. And that takes work. That takes being a claimer, a gamer, and not a blamer. So God bless you guys. Hopefully you guys got a lot from this show. Cameron and many people that are listening to this show, it's an absolute honor and privilege to be on the show with you and to be able to expound my wisdom and to share my wisdom with you and my care for you. So hopefully we'll see you again this week. I think we are. And the next episode, what we're going to do is I'm going to read a couple things from my book, You 2.0, and we're going to dive into it a bit more, because I think, Cameron made that as an idea. He suggests that read a chapter from your book or a couple paragraphs from your book, and then we can expand on those things. And I thought that was a great idea. So we're going to do that next time. If you have any questions or comments, we'd love to hear from you from YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube. Push notifications. If you Cameron's going to send those YouTubes out. So as soon as the YouTube video's out, if you subscribe and for notifications, stuff like that, push the bell, I think it is there, Cam, and then you'll get immediate notification on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or whatever. And we'd love to hear from you, because we want to support your growth and your expansion as human beings and human doings. So God bless your continued upgrade and evolution. Live it up with power, purpose, and passion. God bless you guys.